The irony wasn't lost on me as I watched Kate Thompson, my husband's mistress of 2 years, pace nervously across my living room. The same room where she first seduced Robert during our holiday party while I was upstairs putting our daughter to bed. I didn't know who else to turn to, she said, wringing her hands. Robert's not answering my calls, and the FBI came to my office today asking questions about the investment accounts. My name is Claire Bennett, and until 6 months ago, I was living what I thought was a perfect life, a successful husband, a beautiful home in Boston's wealthy suburbs, and a sweet 5-year-old daughter. Then I found the text messages. "Have a seat, Kate," I said calmly, gesturing to the sofa. "Tell me everything." She collapsed onto the expensive leather couch, her designer outfit wrinkled from stress. "It started 2 years ago." Robert said he had a foolproof way to generate huge returns for his clients. He just needed to borrow some money temporarily from other accounts. I nodded, keeping my expression sympathetic while my phone quietly recorded every word. "And you helped him move the money?" "I didn't know it was wrong at first," she protested. "He said it was all legal, just creative accounting. By the time I realized what was really happening." She trailed off, staring at her manicured hands. "By then, you were already in too deep," I finished for her. "Both with the fraud and with Robert." She looked up sharply. "How did you know? About your affair?" I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "The same way I know about the $47 million you and Robert stole from his clients. I'm very thorough, Kate." Her face went white. "I don't understand. If you knew, why didn't you confront us? Leave Robert? Report everything to the authorities?" I stood up, walking to my home office. "Because that would have been too simple." I returned with a thick folder. "Tell me, did Robert ever mention what I did before becoming a stay-at-home mom?" She shook her head mutely. "I was a forensic accountant for the SEC," I said, opening the folder. "Specialized in investment fraud. In fact, Robert and I met when I was investigating his previous firm. He was a whistleblower then, helping expose his boss's pyramid scheme. Ironic, isn't it?" Kate's hands began to shake. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," I said, pulling out a document, "in about 30 minutes, Robert is going to walk through that door. He just got a very interesting call from his biggest client threatening to pull their entire investment. He'll be desperate, scared, and looking for someone to blame." I checked my watch. "And right around then, the FBI will be executing search warrants at both your office and his." Impeccable timing, don't you think? "You," she whispered. "You're the one who tipped them off." I smiled. "I did so much more than that." "Would you like to see exactly what I've been doing for the past 6 months while you and Robert thought you were so clever?" Kate stared at the documents I spread across my coffee table: bank statements, transfer records, email printouts, and surveillance photos. 6 months of meticulous evidence gathering, laid out like a roadmap of betrayal. "That's not possible," she whispered, picking up a photo of her and Robert at a hotel in New York. We were so careful." "Careful?" I laughed softly. "You used his corporate credit card to book the room, Kate. Did you really think I wouldn't notice when I was doing the monthly expense reports?" She looked up sharply. "You've been tracking us since February 14th, I supplied. Valentine's Day. Robert told me he had a business dinner but forgot to switch out his personal card when you paid for your romantic getaway. Sloppy." The front door opened and closed. "Claire, we need to talk." Robert's voice. He stopped dead in the doorway when he saw Kate sitting on our couch. His face, already pale from stress, went completely white. "Hello, darling," I said pleasantly. "Kate was just telling me about your creative investment strategies." "What is she doing here?" he demanded, his voice cracking. "Falling apart. Just like you," I replied. "The FBI is probably at your office right now. Did you really think you could steal $47 million and no one would notice?" Robert's expensive suit suddenly looked too tight as he tugged at his collar. Whatever you think you know." "I know everything." I cut him off. "Every transfer. Every fake account. Every lie. I've been documenting it all since I found out about your affair." Kate stood up, her legs shaking. "Robert, what are we going to do?" They were asking questions about the Peterson account. "Shut up," he snapped at her. Then, turning to me with forced calm, "Claire, honey, this is all a misunderstanding. I can explain." I held up my phone, playing an audio recording. "Move another million from the Wilson Trust. No one checks those accounts anyway. Kate can falsify the quarterly statements like usual." His face contorted with rage. "You recorded me? Your own husband. Ex-husband soon enough." I corrected him. "But that's the least of your worries right now." As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A text from FBI agent Marcus Chen. "Search warrants executed. Evidence recovered. Moving to arrest phase. You should be getting some visitors shortly," I said, showing them the text. "I'd say you have about 10 minutes to decide what you're going to do." Robert lunged for my phone, but I was ready for that. I stepped back, pressing a button on my desk remote. The room's hidden cameras whirred to life, red recording lights blinking. "Careful," I warned. "Assaulting a federal informant would just add to your charges." "Federal?" Kate's voice trailed off as realization hit her. "You've been working with the FBI this whole time?" "Ever since I found proof of your theft," I confirmed. "Agent Chen was quite interested in my evidence, especially the parts about where you hid the money." Robert's face shifted from rage to calculation. I could almost see him trying to figure out how to talk his way out of this one. "Claire," he said, his voice softening to the tone he used when he wanted something. "We can work this out. Think about Sophie. Our daughter needs her father." "Don't you dare," I hissed, my composure breaking for the first time. "Don't you dare use our daughter to manipulate me. Where was your concern for Sophie when you were stealing her college fund to buy Kate diamonds?" The sound of cars pulling up outside made us all turn toward the window. Red and blue lights flashed against the living room walls as FBI vehicles surrounded the house. "Time's up," I said quietly. "Here's what happens next. You're both going to be arrested. The evidence I've gathered proves not just the theft, but the elaborate cover-up. Every falsified document, every forged signature, every lie you told your clients." Robert's shoulders slumped as the reality of his situation finally hit him. "How much do you want?" "Excuse me?" "To make this go away," he said desperately. "There must be something you want. Money, the house, full custody?" I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You still don't get it, do you? I don't want anything from you. Everything I wanted, I've already taken." Kate spoke up, her voice trembling. "What do you mean?" 3 months ago, I convinced Robert to transfer all his legitimate assets into my name, to protect them from market volatility. "Remember, darling?" I turned to my husband. "The house, the cars, the vacation property in Vermont, they're all mine now. Legally and irrevocably." Robert's face went from white to red. "You planned this." "I also emptied our joint accounts yesterday," I continued calmly. "Don't worry, I left detailed records showing you transferred the money to one of your shell companies." Good luck explaining that to the FBI. A loud knock at the door made Kate jump. "But that's not even the best part," I said, walking to answer it. "Would you like to know what I did with the money?" Neither of them spoke as I opened the door to Agent Chen and his team. "I donated it," I announced. "Every penny, to a fund I set up for your victims. Combined with the assets I'll be selling, it should help recover a significant portion of what you stole." "You can't do that," Robert shouted as agents began reading him his rights. "That money was mine too." "Actually," Agent Chen interjected, "Mrs. Bennett had every legal right to move those funds. And her cooperation has been invaluable to our investigation." As they led Robert and Kate away in handcuffs, I watched from the doorway. My daughter, Sophie, was safely at my sister's house, probably watching movies and eating too much ice cream, blissfully unaware that her world was changing forever. "Mrs. Bennett?" Agent Chen lingered behind. "There's still some paperwork." "Of course," I said, leading him to my home office. "I have everything organized right here." Later that night, after the FBI had gone and the house was quiet, I sat in my living room with a glass of wine. My phone kept buzzing with notifications, news alerts about Robert's arrest, messages from shocked friends, frantic texts from his family. I ignored them all. Instead, I opened my laptop to check on the victim restitution fund I'd established. The money I'd taken from Robert, combined with the proceeds from selling his assets, would help restore some of what he'd stolen from his clients. Not all of it, but enough to make a difference. A text from my sister lit up my phone. "Sophie's asking for you. You okay?" I smiled, typing back. "Better than okay. Coming to get her now." As I drove to pick up my daughter, I thought about the journey ahead. There would be hard conversations, adjustments, tears probably. But Sophie would grow up knowing that her mother stood up to injustice, that wrong actions have consequences, that strength sometimes means making difficult choices. The next morning, I woke up to headlines. Prominent investment manager arrested in $47 million fraud scheme. Wife's evidence key to breaking investment fraud case. Victims to receive restitution from unprecedented recovery effort. Robert's lawyer called, trying to negotiate. Kate's family reached out, begging for mercy. I blocked their numbers. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about making things right, about showing my daughter what integrity looks like in action. 1 year later, I sat in the courtroom as Robert and Kate received their sentences, 15 years each. No possibility of early parole. The judge cited the calculated nature of their crimes and their complete lack of remorse. As they led them away, Robert turned to look at me one last time. I met his gaze steadily, thinking of all the lies. All the nights I'd spent tracking his crimes while he thought I was asleep. All the times he dismissed me as just a housewife. I smiled and waved goodbye. That evening, I took Sophie for ice cream. She was 6 now, old enough to start asking questions about why Daddy wasn't around anymore. "Mommy," she said, chocolate smeared on her chin. "Are you sad about Daddy?" I wiped her face clean, considering my answer carefully. "I'm sad about the choices he made," I said finally. "But I'm proud of the choices I made to make things right." She nodded, seemingly satisfied with this answer. "Can we get another scoop?" I laughed, truly laughed for what felt like the first time in years. "Sure, sweetie. We can have as many scoops as we want." Life wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And it was ours. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about rebuilding something better from the ashes of their betrayal. And as I watched my daughter attack her second ice cream cone, I knew I'd made the right choice. Robert and Kate had chosen greed and deception. I had chosen truth and justice. In the end, that made all the difference.